have another really cool one for you guys today. We have the compact version of the Western Sidewinder in 30 caliber. A big thank you to Keith at Airgun Tactical for sending out this Western Sidewinder for me to try out today. This functions in both semi-auto and full auto. Today, we're gonna be using these AEA Center Punch 45 grain pellets, as well as these Airgun Tactical 63 grain flat bottom hollow point slugs. I'm gonna be changing up the format to my videos a little bit. I'm gonna save the majority of the talking for the end of the video. The range portion is gonna be the first half. We'll get into the fun stuff. And if you wanna stick around and get in the nitty gritty technical stuff and hear my opinion on this, then that'll be at the end. So let's get started. We're gonna start off with a group at about 25-30 yards. We're gonna be using the Airgun Tactical slugs first. I'm gonna use my Manbilly tripod just to get a stabilized platform here and get the best accuracy I can, then I'll switch to offhand. One thing I would like to mention before we get started, I'm using my ACOG 4X for an optic, and I swapped out the stock suppressor with this Donnie FL Yokozuna. It's a little bit more quiet. We'll bring out the stock suppressor and test that as well, but for the majority of this, we're gonna be using this moderator on here. Let's go for center bullseye. Just need to go a touch up for this. Let's try that again. All right, let's go for that top middle headshot. Just going a touch more up. All right, let's go for top right headshot. The wind is pretty wild right now. I started this off at a full fill 300 bar. 12 shots later, we're at 220 bar. I'm gonna swap over the pellets, do another 12 shots, see how those group, and go from there. Let's go for that top left headshot. These might be a little bit higher. These pellets are about, what are they, 18 grains lighter than the slugs. We went down 2 and left 2. Let's go for that center bullseye again. We're at 24 shots later, we're at about 160 bar. Now the regulator on this is set to 170 bar and the power wheel is completely maxed out. So your efficiency is gonna vary depending on the power, and I'm pretty much nearly maxed out on this. So 2 mags for a full cylinder, and then we're gonna refill. We are topped off with air. We have 12 more pellets loaded. Let's drop those Texas stars and I'll switch over to the slugs and drop them again. We have 1 round to spare. I clipped one of those stars. I think that's actually a first, so let's reload and then try it with slugs. Okay, same deal as last time, except we have slugs. All right, solid hitting, can't complain. All right, I'll cave. Let's do one more set of Texas stars. We're loaded with the 45 grain pellets. This time, let's try and go as fast as possible. All right, it was a little sloppy. I'm gonna reload one more mag, finish off these Texas stars, and we're gonna move on. Last Texas star, fast as possible. Better. All right, let's switch this thing to automatic and put a group on that Gong. 12 round dump. That was actually pretty tight, I'm surprised. Let's switch to slugs and see how those do. Wow, that was actually kind of surprising. The pellets did really well. The slugs opened up a good little bit, even at 25-30 yards. Pellets usually always do very well in almost any air gun. The slugs, they kind of have to be like fine-tuned to the rifle itself. The exact diameter really does matter. I'm not sure exactly what these are, but for like, say like the Gauntlet 30, it's a 296 barrel, but I use 299 or 30 caliber slugs. These might be just a little bit like a fraction of an inch off, and that can make all the difference in the world. Also, pellet shape, grain weight also make a big difference. So maybe this thing likes little bit lighter grain. If I had some 50 grainers, that'd be awesome to try out, but I think we'll stick with pellets, and then when we get to, say, like penetration tests or whatnot, we'll go with the slugs, just because the nature of the slug, it's gonna hit harder and just deliver more energy than the pellets. So let's keep up with the pellets for now, and then let's take out some sodas. All right, we got 4 12-ounce sodas, and then we got 2 Dr. Peppers. For the Dr. Peppers, I'm gonna try and take the caps off. I'll probably switch to the tripod for that. Let's do those 12-ounces offhand. Wow, that was weak.
Wow, that was weak.
All right, not too shabby. We had a weak hit on that one soda. We'll have to make up for it with the Dr. Peppers and take those caps off. All right, let's see if we can make up for it. All right, I gotta go get that one. Pew pew. All right, how to bring this thing back. Check this out. I thought I hit low, but we skimmed high. All right, we got a cinder block down there. Let's do the left half of it with pellets, and then we'll follow up the right half with slugs. All right, pretty nice group down there. Slugs are loaded up. Let's try that right side. All right, let's go check out the back of it, see if there's any pass-throughs. I can't really tell a difference from here between the pellets and the slugs. The slug group was a little bit wider. I feel like the pellets were tighter and just made a cleaner hole faster. So let's go check out the rear of that.
Great ass!
So with the pellets being more accurate with the slugs, I think we just drilled a cleaner hole through. And then once we drilled that hole through, then we had a shot right in the back where it actually did a little bit of damage. The slug side, no damage through the inside, just through the first half of it. So there you have it. All right, let's try a little ice capade here. We got 2 frozen water balloons down there. Oh, plus if I miss, there's a collateral spray paint down there. I might have missed on purpose. I guess we changed things up a little bit on this. We got a pink pizza pan penetration test. We got 10 plates down there. Let's do the pellet first and we'll see what the slug does. We had a total of 10 pans down there. Pan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 6th. It's a pretty sizable dent in there. Let's try the slug. This was the pellet, this was the slug. So we got 1 pan, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is where they stopped last time. But on the slug, we had a little tiny indent on this one, so pretty much the same. Little tiny fraction more in the slug. All right, next up, let's do a 2x4. We'll do a slug first, then we'll switch to a pellet. Check on both after we fire them. All right, let's see if we made it through. Well, I'm actually kind of surprised that the slug didn't make it through. The pellet was 50-50, but the slug I was pretty sure was gonna make it through, but there you have it. We're gonna be moving on to 60 yards, but before I do that, I wanna shoot these clay pots. I just have a feeling they'll make a cool noise. That wasn't as cool as I thought. But satisfying nonetheless. All right, 60 yards, here we come. Pellets are up first. I'm not gonna adjust the scope. I'm just gonna aim for center bullseye, see where it drops, and then just continue the group there. I'm surprised we started high and then we kind of settled down towards the bullseye and then back in the middle. Now, the second half of that group, the wind is decently significant today. So I think that we just kind of shifted with the wind down there. But aside from that wind shift, I'd say it's a pretty solid group. Let's switch to the slugs and go from there. We're gonna go for that right target, center bullseye, same thing. All right, from here, it looks like half the group is like a straight line like that. I'm surprised the elevation isn't more consistent. I expect the windage to be, you know, inconsistent with the wind and whatnot, but the elevation part I feel like should be more flat on that. Now, the pellets, aside from that wind shift, I feel like that would have been a little bit better group. Let's put a full auto group on that steel torso down there. All right, we're back with the pellets. Let's do that full auto group. I'm gonna aim for the bolt on the torso. Well, that actually started out pretty solid, and then I just kind of drifted to the left. Needless to say, we have to do one with the slugs just to compare. All right, same thing, except this time we have slugs. All right, that actually looked like it was a little bit tighter group, but I kind of corrected myself from the first time. I didn't drift myself to the left. I held it more steady. Technically, I think the pellets would have done better if I just didn't drift off, but it is what it is. Let's move on to that Texas Star. I'm gonna try the pellets just because I know they're more accurate right now, but it's a question of whether or not they're actually gonna take off those plates. Now, it takes about 100 foot-pounds, and I haven't done the chronograph test yet, but I think we're in the 80s range, so if the pellets don't take it off, I'll switch to the slug, because I'm pretty sure the slugs will be able to do it, so let's see. Wow, I'm surprised that actually worked. This thing barely took those plates off. We took a couple double taps on some of them. Granted, when it does start to get moving, it's a little bit easier for them to fall off, but not too shabby, I'd say. All right, let's do some offhand groups at 30 yards. We'll get some chronograph data. I got 6 pellets, and then we'll do 6 slugs. Let's go for that far left to center line. Error. Error again. Hopefully I don't have to break out my FX chronograph. All right, I have the FX chronograph out. Let's start with the slugs and get readings off that, and I'll show you the end of the string once we're done. So that only ended up recording 4 of those rounds, which we had 805, 807, 817, and 770. The highest was 93.3 foot-pounds. The lowest was 83 foot-pounds. All right, let's do one more group with the pellets and see if we can get actual readings on this one. Let's go for top middle headshot. Unfortunately, for some reason, this is just not going for me today. It recorded none of that, so we'll just have to do another 6-round group. All right, third time's a charm for this. Let's hope this records this time. Let's go for the neckline. All right, we got 5 out of 6 on that one. So the lowest was 81.4 foot-pounds. The highest was 82.6. Highest FPS was 909. Lowest is 902. Ballistic gel time. Let's do a pellet first, then the slug. I think I accidentally put 2 pellets in there. Let's do this slug. I think that's up next. I'm curious to see the footage on that. The slug went a little bit further, but the cavitation between the slug and that hollow point doesn't really look like much. Let's have some fun and finish this off. Always looks pretty cool when you dump a full auto mag into this. Stacked in there pretty nicely. I get asked a bunch of times what difference these airgun moderators make, and I technically don't have a real answer because when I try and do this on a sound meter, I never really get accurate results, at least not what I think is accurate, because without the moderators on, it says it's quieter than with the moderators on, and there's just absolutely no way that's possible. So I have a sound meter up. I'm gonna take a couple shots and we'll see what happens with no moderator. I'll put the stock moderator on, and then I'll put my Donnie FL on. I have a feeling this is gonna be pretty loud though. Right now it says 79 decibels. I'm gonna get a little bit closer to the meter. It doesn't sound right. You know, I honestly don't know what's up with that. It will not record an accurate reading. The wind will pick up louder than the actual gun firing, so at least you have an audio reference of what that's gonna be. Let me put on the stock moderator and then show you what that sounds like. That's actually pretty quiet. Not too bad, but I feel like the Donnie FL is a better choice. Let's put that on again. So unfortunately, I can't get exact decibel readings. Maybe I just don't know how to use the thing correctly, but to me, I have 2 of them, and I'm pretty sure I'm doing it right, but I'm not 100%, so maybe it could be me. But without the moderator on there, it's relatively loud. It's definitely probably not backyard friendly. With the stock moderator on there, I'd say that's actually good enough for the backyard, but if you really want it quiet, I would at least put that Donnie FL on there. I think that does a really good job. So that's gonna wrap things up for the range portion of this video with this Western Airguns Sidewinder Compact in 30 caliber. Now, the first thing people are probably gonna be asking is price. This goes for about $2,300. So, not budget friendly by any means, and if you're honestly gonna buy this, I would highly suggest getting a transfer tank. A transfer tank and a compressor setup is definitely the way to go for this. Now, one of the biggest complaints when it comes to air guns, I see this in the comments all the time, is just the speed of things. So if you're interested in getting one of these, I would highly suggest getting a transfer tank and then a compressor setup that will fill that transfer tank. You could definitely go with a compressor, but topping off every 24 shots with what this is set at for power settings, it's gonna be a little time consuming. Now, the tank on this is actually small enough that you could probably hand pump it without, you know, absolutely killing yourself. This is only a 300cc tank, so it's not too bad. But when it comes to the speed of things, a transfer tank is going to be your fastest way of filling this up. Now, when it comes to Western airguns in general, one of the biggest complaints that I hear about that is the magazine. On the Rattlers, it's not removable. On the Sidewinder, it's removable. Now, acquiring extra magazines, I'm thinking this thing's pretty expensive. I'm not sure exactly what the price is right now. I'll have that post on screen. But replacement magazines, considering this, I'm pretty sure this is almost... This one might not be 100% titanium because it has magnets in it, but the Rattler magazines are 100% titanium. So when it comes to these magazines, it's not very cost-friendly. Moderator. Now, you can definitely get away with the stock moderator, but this Donnie FL on there is actually very nice. Quiets things down a little bit more. The clearance between this tank and the muzzle is very tight. You cannot get a Donnie FL Ronin on there. All right, let's talk about efficiency. With the power setting that this is at, which is pretty much near max, we're getting 2 full mags from a 300 bar fill. Now, this only has a 300cc tank. I'm sure you could probably, you know, extend it a couple, maybe up to a 450 or 500cc tank. I'm not sure exactly what size would be available, but I'd have it just a little bit below the Moderator. I wouldn't advise having it past the Moderator. Now, people make fun of me for that, but if you clip the Moderator, you have absolutely no idea where that pellet's going or the slug. And if you've seen a cartoon, it's like a ricochet from a cartoon. The thing's doing corkscrews through the air. You could be shooting at something, you have absolutely no idea where it's going. It's cartoonish and it's crazy. So when it comes to a cylinder being extended past the muzzle or the Moderator, I would highly suggest not doing that. But that's just me. I play things safe. That's the route I go. When ammo comes into the picture, I really like these AEA pellets. I was pretty much only using FX and the JSB pellets. I'm pretty sure the JSB makes the pellets for FX. I switched back and forth because the FX ones weren't available and I couldn't tell any difference between the FX and the JSB. I'm pretty sure those are exactly identical. But these AEA pellets came out of nowhere and they're honestly probably the highest quality pellets I've come across. Now, when it comes down to these Airgun Tactical slugs, they didn't work as well as I wanted to, but I think the pairing between these and the Sidewinder sometimes they just don't mix. That doesn't necessarily say that this won't work exceptionally well in something else. Just in this instance, they just didn't really work as well as I would have liked. Now, the finish on these are really nice quality slugs, so I'm actually kind of curious. Maybe I'll run them through my gauntlet or something. That would definitely take care of these 63 grain slugs. That's pretty much perfect for the gauntlet. I do love my Griffin Bowtail 78 grains, but these look like they'll fit in the mag, and if I can get a slug that can fit in the mag, that would honestly be a blessing. So maybe I'll try that out later and see how that works. Now, I do have one complaint when it comes to these slugs fitting in this Sidewinder magazine. On the Rattler and the Sidewinder, on my 357 Rattler, if I put 356 diameter slugs in there, they're very, very loose and they want to just slide around in there. These, I think these are just a little fraction too wide for the magazine. Most of them, I'd say like 90% of them fit in there very well, but there's just a few that it's so tight. And when you're dealing with this magazine, I'll show you real quick. You have this cover that comes off. It's magnetic, it snaps in place. But if you have any little bit of the slug sticking out of here, you either want it flush or pushed in just past flush. Because when you put this cover on, if there's any extra gap in between that cover and the magazine, the tolerance of fitting this inside the magwell, it's not going to happen. And I probably wouldn't even suggest forcing it the tiniest little bit, because this thing has to ratchet and index properly, and more than likely, it's probably going to jam in there, and I can't imagine that being fun to deal with. So, if you have any resistance pushing that in there, I highly suggest taking it back out, making sure all the slugs or pellets are either flush or pushed in just a little bit past flush, and then replacing that cover on there and trying again. I would not suggest going down that route. I can't imagine what that would be like if it gets jammed up in there. That's just something I would not want to have to deal with. Now, this is the compact version of the Sidewinder. This one has a 17-inch barrel. I believe the full-size version has a 23-inch barrel. Now, when it definitely comes down to size, this lives up to the name. It's compact. The bullpup design in the shorter barrel, this thing's tiny. I believe it came out to 6 pounds, 7 ounces. It's right around 1 pound less than the full-size version. So if you're looking for something that's like yard-friendly, offhand shooting, this thing is so light and nimble. But the only thing I have to complain about today with this, I should take it out again and do some longer range shooting, is just the wind was crazy. And blowing this thing around like a sail in the wind was probably not the best for accuracy. So I could definitely feel like I feel like I could do better with this. I don't feel like I did this thing justice today with the performance I had. And if I can find slugs that may work a little bit better in this, maybe lighter grain, I think that would be ideal. Because 900 feet per second out of those pellets that's pretty much perfect. It's almost at max power, and those slugs were in the 800s. If we could get the slugs around, you know, 850, 900, that would be great. So even if we had slugs that, you know, were 45 or 50 grains, same weight as the pellets, I feel like the slugs will just perform a little bit better. They'll have more energy transfer, but they should be just a hair more accurate. But also, we need to find a slug that is pretty much pairs together with this. If you pair the slug perfectly with this, you'll get better accuracy than the pellets. The pellets overall have a general high rate of accuracy, but if you pair the slugs better, there's a better chance of having better accuracy with those slugs. If you don't have the right slug, like today, I don't think these just worked as well as they could have. The spreads and whatnot between the full auto and the Gong. 60 yards wasn't too bad. You can't really tell much of a difference at 30. But I feel like if we step it up to 100, you would see a much wider spread with those pellets and compared to those slugs. Now, this is a very minor detail, but I'm pretty sure this comes with the gun, because the Western Rattler that I had from a fan that sent it in for a video, they had this exact same nipple cover on there. And I know it's a very small thing to mention, but having a nipple cover is very nice, and I want to just bring that out there to people's awareness that if you don't have one, I would highly suggest getting one for all of your guns, your compressor, fill lines, your transfer tanks, everything. Because when I do things, I want to make sure that this thing's going to last, you know, as long as possible, that there's not going to be any debris or fouling or anything getting in there, messing whatever up. Just pure clean air, no oil, no water, nothing. So when it comes down to filtration and, you know, getting your compressor set up, maybe your transfer tank set up, I would highly suggest getting a very, very solid filter. It doesn't have to be anything, you know, absolutely crazy. I went above and beyond and got a alpha filter, which is a molecular desiccant sieve, just because I live in a pretty moist, humid climate. So for me, I go above and beyond because I'm just looking, you know, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. I want everything in tip-top shape, and I don't need moisture and oil and debris fouling the insides of my guns. I want them as clean as possible. Now, one thing I'd like to reiterate about that transfer tank is if you could just skip one airgun purchase, I feel like you're going to be doing yourself a massive favor. Going from a compressor fill to a transfer tank is just, it's a blessing in disguise if you don't even know about it. Now, not only does it save you time, but it's also going to save you compressor time and wear and tear in the unit. Instead of using that unit every few minutes to fill with this, you're going to get 24 rounds off of this setting and have to refill. You're refilling that transfer tank, say, at 3,000 PSI to 4,500, and it's going to take you, depending on the unit like mine, it takes me maybe 15 minutes. So I have 15 minutes of runtime, and I shot this thing all day, and I still have around 4,000 PSI in that tank. So one long fill versus many small fills on that unit could save you some lifespan on that, you know, compressor there. Now, to wrap things up with this Sidewinder, I actually wouldn't mind trying out the full version of this. The compact version is extremely nice, but I feel like with that extra barrel length, you're going to be getting probably better accuracy, but I know for sure that the power is definitely going to be up a good amount. Just the extra barrel length adds probably, I think this one will probably get like maybe 95, 100 FPE, but the full barrel version of this, it's rated for 125. So that's a pretty significant jump from that extra 6 inches of barrel length. And from only 1 extra pound of weight added to it, you should be in business with it being offhand as well. It's lightweight enough. Pair it with a lighter weight scope. I wouldn't suggest putting a Trigicon on it unless you are really hardcore, but some of the bigger scopes, you don't want to add an extra, 2-3 pounds of weight. Something smaller, lower magnification, add a pound to it, you're still in good shape. This Moderator is not too heavy either. The stock one's very light, but this one doesn't add too much to it. So that's a nice thing as well. A big thank you to Airgun Tactical for sending this out. Hopefully we can see some more Western air guns from them. Kind of privileged to have all these guns sent out to me. This company makes pretty much some of the top-end air guns that are available on the market. The full auto in this is incredibly nice. Even semi-auto, some of these higher-end guns are still manual cocking. So having semi-auto and full auto in this it's very nice. The semi-auto is probably what I would stick with for the most part, but the full auto is obviously fun. So with that, I'll leave you there. See ya.